Welcome back for another episode of WaterparkRangers Let's Play Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. In the last episode, we snuck out at night to save Neville from being trapped behind a tapestry, and so we cut that tapestry with our new spell, the Diffindo Severing Charm. In this episode, we're just gonna go back to classes, and today's class is Gilderoy Lockhart's Defense Against the Dark Arts. You might have noticed what I grabbed back there was the Gryffindor Merit Badge. That was one of the lost and found items from before. So before we're gonna go to his class, we're just gonna do a little bit of surveying the rooms around the grand staircase and taking what treasures we can. They're all wizard's cards for the most part. But the routine is, whenever you get a new spell, there are new treasure chests around the grand staircase you can open up. And there are a few that I could have just opened because they don't have any special blockades on them from before. But I didn't do it because I honestly just forgot about it. So this is sort of a routine thing we're going to be doing whenever we find a new spell. Because as you can see, there's nothing that's stopping us from opening that up. No vines to be cut with Diffindo or whatever.
31. Balfour Blane.
So this is just going to be a whole card collecting sequence. I'm not doing this because we're going for 100%, or because I think these upgrades are useful. I just figure we can get these, so we might as well. The reason I'm not so sure 100% is a good idea is because, once again, the GBA connectivity,
Roderick,
which I'm not going to
Plumpton.
do. And also, there's the off chance that we might have missed something back at Diagon Alley or the Burrow. So I'm sorry if this episode isn't too terribly exciting, because I know it's just a routine that we're doing, going from identical classroom to identical classroom, scanning for wizard's chests. That's pretty much what I want to call them, because they hardly ever hold anything other than wizard cards inside them. I mean, I suppose it's an interesting collectible, but the game just
Number
dwells way too
88.
much on it.
Celestina Warbeck.
But there are going to be a few wizard cards that are off the beaten track, and they're not just in classrooms, so that's worthwhile. They're in the secret passages around the grand staircase, and I'm going to show you one of them right here. There are a few fire crabs in the way, so just flip them with Flipendo and then run right past them. You get a spell later that'll help you actually defeat them. So this side room here has a few more fire crabs. The only thing that's really of interest in here is that one treasure chest. Although there's another path in this room, it just leads to a dead end with another fire crab. There's actually nothing there at
Number
all.
43. Cyprian Youdle.
Oh, that was unfortunate. Yeah, the placement of these enemies isn't the best. Sometimes when you're just walking out of a door or opening up a chest, there is going to be a fire crab right there to blast you in the face. I found sometimes it's just a nice idea to be careful, look around corners, the whole look before you leap thing. You never know when there's going to be a fire crab. Oh, we just got another upgrade that we can
Number
hardly see.
92. Xavier Roderick.
Is it just me, or did that guy look like Willy Wonka? Never mind. Anyway, in this door here, this is something interesting I found when I was exploring that I've never found until this playthrough. You know how earlier I mentioned there's that hallway outside Lockhart's class on the 3rd floor, which is the best place for getting
Number
beans?
74. Montague
Well, I
Knightley.
just found this room, and I found it when I hit one of these boxes earlier. They give you a lot of beans, and it's definitely better. I think this is probably the best place in the game to get beans. Just hit these boxes a lot to get all the beans you can from them. Somewhere around 30, maybe a little bit less. And then exit the door and come back in. So I'm not going to get the 100 right now, but I thought I'd just show you a small example of what these boxes can do for your bean count. Plus they sometimes have pumpkin pastries in them, which is nice. So it's like, they're definitely usually around 20 in that other hallway, but there's closer to 30 here, so this is just a better place to come. Though at night, I should warn you, there's a fire crab that sometimes stands outside this door. Only at night, though. And that can make you lose a few beans if you're not careful. Once again, the unfortunate enemy placement. So those secret passages, there are kind of 3 of them. There's one on the 7th floor that goes from floor 7 to floor 4. That room on floor 4 that we were in earlier. And there's another one on floor 4, the one that we took, and that took us to floor 2. And the final one is right here, and it goes from floor 3 to floor 2.
Number 98, Dimphna Firmage.
And it's the shortest one of all. Also, the card we got right there was a double. It's a double of a card that we already have. The reason that there are some doubles is because there are a few wizard cards that you can't just find normally. It's probably one of the last things we're going to do once we have a ton of cards, is you have to get them from kids who have them, and you'll need to trade. And the weird thing when I first played the game is that a lot of the times when you try to trade, even if you have the card that they want, Harry will say, I don't have that card. But the reason he's saying that is because you don't have 2 copies of that card. And it kind of makes more sense if you think about it. I mean, if you have 2 copies of the card, then it's a pretty good idea to trade one away and keep the other. And if we do happen to miss any wizard cards that we should have gotten, and we need to trade to get doubles or whatever, you can buy them later at Fred and George's shop at the end of the game. So it's sort of like finding the extra shadow Pokemon from Mirror B that you couldn't find in Colosseum or Gale of Darkness. I'm not particularly a fan of those games or anything, but if you play them, that should be a familiar concept for you.
Can everyone see me? Can you all hear me? Excellent! This term I shall be teaching dueling. Let me introduce you to my assistant, Professor Snape.
With normal-sized eyes.
Now, Harry Potter, if you'd like to come forward, the Expelliarmus spell challenge is through here. What you have to do is to find the Expelliarmus spellbook somewhere beyond the portrait. Once you have the spellbook in your possession, the Expelliarmus spell will be yours to use as you see fit.
If I had to pick one moment, this would be the part where things just get unbelievably weird. Lockhart suddenly thinks it would be a great teaching method to lock Harry in a giant dungeon all by himself, filled with monsters and all kinds of deadly traps. All for a bunch of house points. This could be called the first legitimate dungeon of the game. There were dungeon-like areas back in Borgin and Burks and Diagon Alley, and I suppose a little bit of the Whomping Willow area, but nothing really quite compares to this. It's not like this is an incredibly difficult part or anything, but it's the first part with what I could classify as very Zelda-esque puzzles. And this is the way that Harry's class will usually work. Yeah, the teachers just love to throw Harry into dungeons all by himself. Now if it was somebody like Snape, that I could understand. So just hit that switch with Flipendo, and that opens up this cupboard full of rogue bludgers that'll try to throw themselves at Harry. So you just dodge them when they're shooting at you, and then when that little enchanted thing over them disappears on their way back, that's when you hit them with Flipendo. So it's pretty easy. It might be a little bit confusing at first, because they just keep coming out of that cupboard right there. But eventually they will stop, you just have to keep destroying them. There's an identical one right over here. So it's the same drill as before. Actually, the one that we're doing over right here is optional, but it's just a nice thing to show you. It's not something that I need to be doing, but I think it might be helpful to you, especially if you're not quite as good as No, that wasn't a good time to say that. In case you're less lucky than me, I should say. So once you break all those bludgers, then you can finally climb up the shelf that they came out of, up to the higher ground. First time I did this, I was pretty stupid and I thought it was a dead end. But if you've played any of the Zelda games, then you know that if there's a corner like this, then there's usually something behind it. In that case, it was Lumos. In a secret room. And this is just for if you need more Wiggenweld, but I'm pretty sure we have enough. And I don't really think there's anything else in this room, but it's nice of them to put this in here, especially since there's really no way out until you can beat it. Also, some nice attention to detail in here. A little bit more graphical polish, like on the floor and stuff. Quite literally. And over here, it's getting you to use the new spell you've learned from earlier. So just cut it with Diffindo. And soon you're going to be using it for cutting a few more awesome things than just towels with unicorns drawn on them. So this place is filled with giant heavy metal spike balls. And they're the key to getting past these weird blockades that are just randomly in your way. By severing those ropes with Diffindo, it'll drop the weight, and that'll in turn drop the barrier. But it also sends out those little imps at you. And they're really annoying. They just throw rocks, and they chase you, and they chatter. And they're just obnoxious, so I'm not going to deal with them. If you really needed to, I guess you could have hit them with Leopoldina and tossed them over the border just so they couldn't get back at you, but I don't feel like spending any time messing around with them. So this next room has an obstacle here that's just moving way too fast for Harry to possibly get past. So there are two more of those little blocks holding it in place. So you just drop both of them with Diffindo. They let out imps, so just stun them with Flipendo to keep them out of the way. If you toss them over the edge, they're just going to keep coming back to the pipe, so it's better just to stun them and keep them stunned. And it'll slow them down sufficiently, and that'll give you a chance to run past. Plus, you might have noticed that door right there. As far as I know, you can't get that open. But maybe there's some secret to doing it, I'm not sure. Kind of pisses me off that they put those things there. Always makes me second guess myself. This room has a few fire crabs, which you should probably remember from earlier this episode, I hope. The room is so big that you really don't have to worry about them. They're really only slightly threatening in small spaces, just because you might not see them. But there's plenty of room to dodge them, hit them from afar, so you can get past them without really worrying. There are only like 2 of them anyway. The real substance of this room is once you climb up on the wall, and welcome to the world of annoying fixed camera angles. The camera's always going to be like in one weird position for this part. They don't give you the option to change it, nor do they warn you that it's going to happen. So to get past these statues, you just have to let them breathe fire at you for a while. They can only shoot in one direction, as you can judge by the scorch marks cleverly put on the floor. And as soon as they're like right about to stop, then you hit them so that they swing upwards, and they can't shoot at you while they're swinging upwards. Kind of complicated to explain. Just make sure you don't get hit by the firewall that they're sending it at you. They don't necessarily even have to be currently breathing it to make it dangerous. Right there we were hit by the after effects. I was hoping we wouldn't get hit. Wow. Okay, that's not good. That fire does a lot of damage, so it's pretty fortunate they're giving you some small healing items to help you out. There's no way to get around the back of that one. You just have to hit it and get around the front. So all of that was just to get into this small little room here. There's one more spike ball you have to drop, but before that there are a couple other treasure chests, and I'm glad I actually stopped to get them before going ahead and cutting that, because I'm pretty sure there's a cutscene that automatically puts you down there if you cut it, and we wouldn't be able to heal, which is not good for the part that's coming up. So with that done, just go ahead like before, target it, and slice it with Diffindo. So this drops the big fire in the middle room. So next episode, we're going to go in there and finally get that Expelliarmus spellbook that we've been trying to find the whole time. So, see you next episode.